when something is difficult or scary, I put it off until the last minute and then panic. Ladies and gentlemen, lovely people, welcome to the Beyond Fluency podcast. My name is Liam, and as ever, I'm joined by my good friend Ramps. And we had a beautiful conversation today. Ramps, what were we talking about?
How to stop using procrastination as an excuse.
Yeah, we're talking to you people. Stop using procrastination as an excuse. We covered some really interesting topics with this chat, including core and limiting beliefs as related to procrastination.
The overuse of the word procrastination.
We also talked about how to take immediate action if you do feel like procrastinating.
And we rounded up with why language learning isn't really hard work.
There's a lot to unpack, so we're going to jump right in. Just want to say thanks for listening. At the moment, I'm pretty on it. I'm in a period where I'm on it. I'm doing what is necessary to stay on top of all of the things. But, I have plenty of times where I could waste a couple of hours where I'm doing nothing, or I put off a difficult job until the last minute.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean. But I'm saying, like, with all things considered, there's a reason why you're doing that.
For my particular type of procrastination, it's avoidance because something is scary or difficult
Yeah.
most of the time.
So you avoid it.
So I avoid it. Yeah, it's part of resistance.
So I'm not sure then it's really procrastination then.
That's a bigger question, isn't it? Are you a procrastinator or are you just resisting change? Are you a procrastinator or is that just the limiting belief that you picked up in childhood?
Maybe we're using the wrong word for the situation,
Hmm.
you know? And so because we're not using the right word, we've misidentified. It's sort of like a misdiagnosis if you want to go have a medical analogy, it's like going to a doctor and being diagnosed with something that you're not, that you don't have.
Yeah, getting all your health advice through Google MD.
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And so you're treating the wrong thing? So is it really procrastination or is it
Well, I think,
something else?
well, on the subject of procrastination, it affects people differently, doesn't it? For
Yeah.
me, my experience of it is that when something is difficult or scary or gives me the feeling of being overwhelming, I put it off until the last minute and then panic and use the adrenaline to get it done. But there are other people who just procrastinate all the time. It's very easy for me to dissect the reasons for my own procrastination, but I'm not sure I'm in a position where I can label the different types of procrastination.
Definitely. Definitely. And I think because it's an experience based on ourselves, we're able to identify it in other people fairly quickly among our clients.
Mm.
I think by the time a client tells me that they're a procrastinator, I'd already figured it out.
Oh yeah.
But only because I, but again, am I labeling it or mislabeling it?
So
Uh,
Oxford Learners says procrastination is the act of delaying something that you should do, usually because you do not want to do it. And if you take that definition,
that
what
that's
we're talking about is what is the reason that you don't want to do it. On
yeah,
the surface level, it's oh, it's boring, or I don't have time, or I forgot, whatever it is. Actually, on a deeper level, what's driving that behavior? And then as coaches, the job is to help the person identify what is driving that behavior. But often procrastination is just one symptom of what that limiting belief is. I would say procrastination 9 times out of 10 is probably going to be related to some sort of fear. And that fear will be
yeah,
a bigger part of the self than just the fear of failure, fear of success. These are
yeah.
bigger questions, right? That can influence other things as well. Procrastination is just one part. This is one way I self-destruct, one way I sabotage myself. It's not it's not as simple as here. What you can do is all right, so Ramps, I think there's a deeper question about what procrastination is in terms of how it manifests in people. We talked a little bit about coaching, but linguistically, What are your thoughts?
In language, with language, specifically with language, I think when we start seeing the same word appearing over and over again in language, then we start to really start to ask the question, especially if it starts to appear at the same time, that, okay, is this word being used correctly, or if this word is being misused
So when it becomes a
specifically?
buzzword, you mean?
When it becomes a buzzword, then we start to question whether, okay, why this buzzword? Why now? A lot of questions should be asked. And perhaps also one of the questions is, okay, are the people using this word correctly? Do people understand what this word actually means?
Right.
Right. So I think when it comes to procrastination, sometimes is used to refer to other things, like someone simply just refusing to change or resisting change, for example.
Right.
Right.
Do you think that this issue of using procrastination as an excuse for whatever reason that is something that's getting worse because of the societal pressures that we live under, the constant bombardment of information by internet, social media, etc., etc.? Do you think it's part of the problem is, how we are?
You asked me a much bigger question now, because I was talking from a linguistic point of view, right?
I
Like how
know.
people are misusing language,
Yeah.
how it possibly isn't really procrastination. Now you've
Well,
asked me a much bigger question. Um, I- Possibly, I think so. Yeah, it could be. It could
okay.
be. I don't. I think what I was trying to say before is I don't think it's even a conscious thing. It's just it's the easiest thing to go to. And I think
But that,
we
I mean,
see
that's
it all
that's
the time,
that's
we
an,
just
that's
see
the
it.
epidemic that we live in this world
Yeah.
at the moment is it's the quick fix society, right? We want everything to happen now. Marketing over the last 20, 30, 40 years has meant that we live in a world where everyone expects instant results. And so if you give someone an exercise to do linguistically and they don't get it instantly, oh no, I'm not going to bother. And then
Oh,
I'm going to
yes.
procrastinate
Yeah.
around actually doing it. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's someone wants the magic pill to make them better when actually doing the hard work and living a healthier life is the thing that will make them better. And it's the same with language learning, don't you think?
Yeah. It can be very, very similar. Yeah. I think I'm thinking about listening based stuff, when people you would send something to listen to, and when the next time you see each other, you're going to have a discussion based on the thing. But it's because you're going to have a discussion. Obviously, you've got to study it essentially, which
Hmm.
means you listen to it several times to understand it. You break it apart from a language point of view, from an opinion point of view. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they listen to it once, and they say, "Oh man, it was such struggle. I didn't understand it." So, "Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. So, how many times did you listen to it?" They're like, "Once." So I'm like, "Oh no, then see, that's where you made a mistake." I did mention you have to listen to it at least 3 times. You know. So yeah, I guess you're right that people are maybe too quick to just,
I,
yeah,
I'll give you
yeah,
an
essentially.
example. I'll give you an example. Um, I was at a class today,
No.
and there is someone in the class who they have a definite goal in mind for doing Cambridge exam B2, and they asked me where was the last 2 weeks episodes of the podcast because he watches and he's keen to learn.
Yeah.
And when I said, okay, well, we did the live last week, and you can watch that. That'll keep you going for the next couple of weeks. It's like, oh no, it's 2 hours long. Like, yeah, but you don't have to watch 2 hours in a row. You can watch 15 minutes a day for 8 days, and that will get you through until the next week. As soon as there was a challenge, as soon as there was an obstacle, it's like, okay, retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah. The the mentality that we try and install in people is that this is hard work. Improving your language
Yeah.
skills to the higher levels is hard work. There is no easy way about it. And breaking it down into smaller pieces is such an important part of continuing to develop. If you see something that looks big and unattainable, what can you do to create the path of least resistance? Video number two, link is up here. Um, how do you make it easier for yourself to manage that big, high, hard goal? Goal setting, that's video number nine. Link is here. It's all, everything is linked. You will
But
hear us say the same thing over and over again because it's all linked. Procrastination is just a symptom in the same way that fear of speaking is a symptom. They're all linked to the same thing. There are
I'm
tools and
curious though.
techniques that you can do to get over them, but at a deeper level, what is it that you're afraid of? Like it, what is it truly? What is it that you're afraid of? What is holding you back? You can answer that question. Oh, then you can start working, don't you think?
Yeah, well, you said hard work. What do you think it has to be hard work? Because I'm not sure I entirely
Hmm.
agree.
That's a good work. That's a good question to ask, actually. I think that's down to my own belief system. Like I come from I'm like a much older millennial slash Gen X. I'm right on the borderline. And the phrase I remember very much growing up was you shouldn't be afraid of hard work. And actually thinking about it, work is only hard if you make it hard. It's all down to your perspective.
Yeah, I've so hard work, I think I always sort of think of this way is I think anytime someone tells you something they've done that you yourself can't imagine doing in order to attain something, I think then you say, you again, wow, that's hard work. You're a hard worker because you
Mhm.
can't imagine yourself, or at least you imagine that if you had to do it, it would require a lot of effort, time, whatever it is. You've quantified it in that way, like, oh, you're a hard worker,
Mm.
in that way. Um, so it will always be relative, I think, right? If someone is
Mhm.
a hard worker or not, it will depend on the person. But if I tell you what I did, for example, that when I was learning Italian, I would read every chapter. When I got to the level of obviously being able to read novels, I'd read every chapter twice. Now, every time I tell somebody that, they're like, "Oh my God, wow, that's incredible! It's a lot of hard work." But for me at the time, it was really nothing.
Right.
Even when I think about it now, because what I wanted to be able to do, that was a really small thing to do in relation to where wanted to go with the language. So
Right.
reading a novel, taking 6 months or twice the amount of time maybe that it would take most people or native speakers to read it, twice as much long to be able to read it. For me, it wasn't hard work. It was just a small little thing to do on the way to speaking this language better. So that's why I'm asking you
Right.
why hard work.
No, you're right.
I
And
understand to
I'm
some degree
I'm
because
glad you challenged me on it
yeah,
actually because that's obviously something that I have a belief in terms of language. I see learning a language as hard work. That's why I'm using the phrase in this way. And that in itself is a limiting belief. It shouldn't be, it doesn't have to be hard work. It should be an experience. It should be joyful. It should be a privilege. So by reframing that in my own mind, that can open up some doors in terms of
yeah,
how I
absolutely.
see my own learning.
Yeah,
So actually
how
that's been very useful for me
I'm
personally. Thanks
I'm happy
guys.
to.
That's it. Thanks Ramps for my coaching session today.
No, but I'm happy you said that. But I think you've also touched on something that is important, and unintentionally we've come to this part now
Hmm.
where I think I realize that maybe what I've been saying a lot of today is just being careful of your word selection.
Mm,
You know, maybe this is basically because I said it's very similar to what I said earlier on about how people are quick to say procrastination. The same thing right now, like why hard work, but hard work is such a relative thing. How do you measure it? It's basically in comparison to yourself
hmm.
always,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think it comes down to
And,
that, like
and
being careful of how we you label the things and how you tell yourself things to yourself
mhm.
as well. So maybe don't be so quick to say I'm a procrastinator because 2 times this week or 3 times this week you procrastinated something. You know, maybe these are tasks that you don't really like, or maybe you feel like they're boring, or maybe it's not really part of your job description. There could be many reasons why you
Mm.
didn't really actually do it that don't automatically say you were a procrastinator.
Well, this is something that you can practically do for yourself when you're in a moment where you get that feeling of, oh, I don't want to do it because I don't like it, it's boring, whatever. If in that moment you then add the label of I'm a procrastinator. That's just who I am. That's a moment where you can say that you can eat the frog. You can do the difficult thing, and then you can ride the wave of dopamine goodness afterwards with that sense of achievement. It's an
Yeah.
opportunity for change.
It's an opportunity for a frog sandwich, my
For
friend.
frog sandwich,
And who
dude.
doesn't like this frog? How cool is that? Something you don't like,
Right.
something you like, and then something you don't like again, and then something you like. This, however way you
Layers
want
and
to do
layers of
of it.
frogs and
Sam,
princesses.
yeah, in between, start with that crap thing, and then 2, 3 nice things that you really enjoy, and then go back to that crap thing. I think that
Yeah.
before you just say procrastinate, just don't use it as an excuse. I think it's
Mm,
basically what I'm saying. It's like I've heard it so many times, and you see it a lot. I think it's now got to the point where it's excusable. It's a good excuse to have because we will try to understand what is behind their behavior.
mm.
You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
so
it's the quick fix. It's the quick solution. Oh, I'm a procrastinator.
yeah, so I don't have to work on
That's all right.
it.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
I will procrastinate, so I don't have to work on it because then I'll just procrastinate. That's what I do,
Yeah.
and then it's,
And then I'll leave it to the last minute when it really needs to be done. And I'll let the adrenaline fuel me, pull an all-nighter, and everything will be fine. Do you know one of the things that I'm proudest of in my entire life was the level of thought and planning I put into doing my thesis at university because of having the knowledge that I have the tendency to leave things to the last minute and the label of being a procrastinator. I was incredibly organized when it came down to writing my thesis to the point where I had a binder and I printed out all the quotes and put them stuck them into the binder in order of how I was going to use them, and then in between wrote my notes about how I was transitioning from one thing to the next. So when it came to writing it, it was pretty much done already, and it's the probably the most organized and prepared I've been for anything I've done, especially in an academic sense. And I got a first for my dissertation. I think I got a 72 or something. And in the UK, 70 plus is a first. It's the best
yeah,
possible
yeah, to
grade
be
you can
able to.
get. So I'm still to this day really proud of the
Yeah,
the
yeah. Wow,
work
that's amazing.
and organization that went into that.
So why haven't you replicated that in other areas? It sounds like you found the recipe there. You knew exactly how to go about it.
Well, I'm trying to. I'm trying to. But it really that my dissertation subject was something that really piqued my interest. I'm just thinking about a book that I've started to read, but is on my pile of things to read, called Indistractable, which is essentially a book about how to remain focused on things that you're doing and not get distracted or procrastinate. And one of the things that I remember from the first couple of chapters is a simple thing of sitting at your workstation, whether that be computer, desk, whatever it is. And in order to get your head into what you're doing and stop those feelings of, I want to do something else, I don't feel like I should do this, is you sit there for 10 minutes and you battle all of the thoughts that tell you to go and make a cup of tea, or oh, I need the toilet now, or whatever it is. You battle the thoughts for 10 minutes.
Mhm.
You put your phone away from you. You sit there, even if it means just staring at the blank screen. If you can sit there for 10 minutes, at some point in that 10 minutes, your brain's going to go, okay, I'm ready to do this. At which point you make the start that you're looking for. And then once you get started, you build momentum and it's easier to continue on with the task.
In other words, just don't react to that. I don't feel like doing this. Don't react immediately to it. Give it a beat.
Mhm. You can sit there and you can think that. You can think, I don't want to do this. This is going to be boring. I can do it tomorrow. There's another time. You can think those thoughts, but you train yourself to sit there with a timer, like have a timer on your screen, a pop-up timer of 10 minutes, and you and watch the timer. Have those thoughts. It's okay to have the thoughts, but sit there in silence, talk to yourself, whatever. But the aim is to sit there for 10 minutes with no distractions. And eventually your brain will go, I'm bored. We might as well do that thing. At least it's something to do, right? Yeah. It's better than sitting here clock watching. So I have tried it a couple of times and it's very useful. But you really have to make sure that you stick to the rules and you stay there for 10 minutes and you don't read a book, you don't make just sit and wait for your brain to kick into work mode.
Like that. I think I'll I'll actually try it.
Mm.
But I what I try to do, I just usually just shake it off. Just kind
Shake it off.
of shake it off.
Yeah.
I don't
Like
do it.
Taylor
I don't.
Swift, right?
Is that a shake it?
It's just Taylor Swift. Shake it off. What is it? No, I don't know. I'm too old for that. There you go. I keep telling myself I'm too old for these things, and it's not true.
Yeah, like you
I
see,
get,
the stories we tell ourselves.
yeah, right, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Well,
Anywho,
as yeah,
yeah,
I think we should.
I think we should wrap it up. Yeah,
I think we should wrap it up, my friend. As
yeah.
always, it's a pleasure. Um,
It's been insightful. It's
yeah,
been personally insightful for me. I'm gonna stop saying that language learning is hard work. I'm gonna say something different. Time to wrap it up, mate. Always
yeah.
a pleasure. See you next time.
See you next time. Thanks, guys.